Hello, welcome to another YouTube Live. Here we are every Monday at 7. And today I will be sharing an expansions message. So those of you who have not been listening to the podcast or haven't watched any of these videos, expansions messages are these messages that I get through my own personal practice. So it's when I'm tuning into my heart, that all-loving part within that we all have. So just setting that intention to just tune in within that part that knows all the answers, and I set that intention and I ask questions and I write them down and I put them in these notebooks. This is my second notebook already, and all these messages are from my own personal practice, though I have been sharing them in my newsletter, I've been sharing them on here, I've been sharing them in the podcast, because so many of these messages are useful for others as well. Like, other people have been enjoying these, and I thought, like, what's better than sharing them, right? So I can keep them for myself, or I can share them, and other people might find them useful too. And these messages are all about really coming back to the truth of who we are, and really coming back to like what life is really about. And it's coming back to that simplicity. And this is the thing, like sometimes the mind loves to complicate things, loves all the fancy techniques, loves new things, loves wanting to like have something that looks very flashy, and then the things that create change often are the very simple, basic things. Coming back to the breath, coming back to the heartbeat, coming back to that all-loving essence within, like just setting that intention and coming back to that and remembering that. And this is something that I posted recently on Instagram. I was talking about how so many people are living their life through screens. And yes, we have technology. Technology is amazing. It means that I can do these lives and other people can watch these videos later on, or they can tune in live and we can share and connect information. And also at the same time, like so much of our life is through these screens, and the frequency of technology and the frequency of our heart and our soul and of Mother Nature is very different. Doesn't mean that we can't like have both, and it doesn't mean that we can't like have technology and use technology. It's really useful, though often it's like connecting to that other rhythm, that other beat, like that original beat within that life, like that's really important. So a lot of my work is based on that, and bringing in NLP to that as well, and which is my background. I have 10 years working with the experience working with NLP professionally, and also like creative arts and movement, all of those things. So you can hear more about that on the podcast if you haven't heard that already. And today I want to share an expansions message, a message that came through personal practice. So when I was tuning in, like asking like, okay, what message needs to come through? This was the message that came through, and perhaps you find this useful too. This is all about the topic of self-acceptance. Like sometimes we have this perspective that we need to be a certain way or behave a certain way or do certain things or achieve certain things and look a certain way. Looking a certain way, that's a big topic, the body image. That's something I'm working on recently with mothers in Barcelona, a series of workshops about helping them to embrace themselves and also their body image, like rewriting the story with that. And there can be all these rules that the mind creates. The mind creates all these rules. I have to, I need to, I must, I should, blah, blah, blah. And who says that really? Yes, we do have certain guidelines in society that helps to create a safe society for all of us to live in. And also, like sometimes all these judgments and criticisms from the mind are not so helpful. And it's when we expand things and open things up that we can start recognizing the beauty of everything. the beauty of it all. So this expansions message is just that, and I will read it out for you. Look to the rose. Every petal makes up its form. Every thorn is part of its growth. See the bigger picture and things fall into place. Focus on one part only and you open up to misinterpretation and only half of the experience. In this human experience, it's vast, expansive, with every possible manifestation. You are already in the multisensory surround sound experience. It's called life. And you are a beautiful expression of that life. So just take a moment just to notice that. You might want to later on with a replay rewind and listen to it again. So I was using the metaphor of the rose, like how the rose has lots of petals. It's made up of lots of different petals. And all these petals together make up its form. It's not just one, it's not just another, it's everything makes up that. And all of the thorns are part of its growth, part of the journey, part of that experience. It's everything all together. It's not just one thing, it's that full experience, that full bigger picture. So often we have this perspective that we need to be a certain way or only do this or only be like that, or this is where perfectionism comes in. And this is something that a lot of clients have spoken to me about, like having that perfectionist side, like the perfectionist side that is just wanting to have things perfect. And when we're focused on everything being so like that and like so perfect, and it brings this energy of control. It brings this energy of like needing to like put everything in a tight box, and it misses the whole experience, because the whole experience encompasses everything. And it doesn't mean that we can't refine or we can't improve or we can't cultivate or create certain things. It just means that we don't follow this image that we placed up on a pedestal blindly and miss the beauty of the experience of everything. This is the thing, like in life or with ourselves, there's everything. Light, shadow, things we like, things we don't like, ups, downs. So there's all of that. And when we start embracing all of that, or even just set the intention to be open to embracing a little bit more of all parts, then we create this much fuller, wholehearted experience of ourselves, of our body, of the life experience. There's this wonderful book, I've mentioned it before, I think, in these YouTube lives and also on the podcast, though if anyone hasn't listened to the episodes, I'll mention it again. There's this wonderful book by Noemi Remen. It's called Kitchen Table Wisdom, and it's made up of all these little short stories about experiences from her life, and every story has this beautiful insight into life, like what life is about. And there's this one story that obviously you can read the book. I highly recommend the book, and you can get all the full details of it. Though the rough picture is she, like when she's young, very young, her parents and in her household, they loved puzzles. There was always a puzzle table. There was always a puzzle on the go. The adults would always like add little pieces as they walked past and just add a few little pieces, and this puzzle grew and grew and grew each day as each person like added to it. And as she was like observing all the adults like doing this puzzle, like she noticed on the table that there were all these pieces that she didn't quite like. There were all these like dark pieces, and what she called like dark black spidery pieces. Like they weren't pretty colors. They were dark colors, and she was noticing them and she didn't like them. So every now and again she would just like pick them up hide them under the sofa. And then the next day, pick up a few more, hide them under the sofa. Pick up a few more, hide them under the sofa. Until it got to the point that there were some very frustrated adults in the house because they couldn't finish the puzzle. Like the family members, they couldn't understand, like, where are the missing pieces? There are some pieces that are missing, like we can't complete the picture. So her mother asked her and said, do you know where these pieces have gone? And she showed her mother that pile under the sofa, that pile that she'd hidden, that she didn't want to look at, that she didn't want to, it was just too dark and too, ugh, she didn't like them. And her mother picked up the pile and they took it to the puzzle table. And one by one, they placed all those pieces into the puzzle and created this beautiful picture. And she couldn't understand. She was like, wow, like this beautiful picture came from all those pieces, like including the dark pieces. That was this beautiful seascape picture. And that came from that. And that was a moment where she realized, and also like more, but so when she was reflecting back on it as an adult, it's like, wow, like we're made up of everything. Yes, at our very core, there's that light. Though in this human experience, we have aspects of what we call the shadow aspects, perhaps limiting beliefs, bad habits, things that we don't like about ourselves, things that we've yet to integrate, things perhaps like hidden gifts that we've yet to really fully embrace. All of that makes up the shadow, like any unexpressed emotions, trauma, all of that. And we have that also in this human experience. And everyone has differences there, though we all have in this human experience a soul and an ego. We have the light and the shadow. And in this human experience, we're made up of all of that. So if we're only fixated on one perspective, on one like outlook of ourselves or of life, it's like, oh, I need to be like this. I need to look like this. My life needs to be like this. I like whatever it is, whatever area we're looking at, or if it's our body, we're looking at it like that and it needs to be like that. We're missing the whole picture. And we're missing the gifts in that shadow. Because yes, even those challenging aspects, even those things that we run away from or we avoid, there are gifts in that. Even those so-called imperfections about ourselves, about our personality, or about our physical body, there's gifts in that too. Now, this is not to bypass, this is not to like think positive, like only positive and just brush it all over with positivity. Like, no, it's about encompassing the whole. So it's like, yeah, okay, this aspect I find challenging. Or so, for example, if we're working with body image, like this part of my body, I'm struggling to love right now, though I'm open to feeling a little bit better about it. I'm open to seeing it in a new light. I'm open to learning about how it does bring me gifts. I'm open to fill in the blank. When we start creating these statements or these opening questions or like phrases that help the mind to expand, we create space for those gifts to come in, those new awarenesses to come in, those insights to come in. So, oh, okay, yes, perhaps that big belly that I've been feeling uncomfortable about, perhaps there's a new insight there, or perhaps that patch of skin or that body part or whatever it is for the individual, like perhaps I don't like this or I don't like that, whatever it is, perhaps there's a gift in that. So first, like acknowledge, like, yeah, in the beginning, like I don't like this or I find this challenging or this is something like I don't like. Acknowledge that. And then I wonder, I wonder, how else can I see that? Like, what changes as I open up the perspective of it? Doesn't mean that you have to go from like 0 to 100 of like loving it straight away. It's not about that. Again, it's not about perfection. It's about connection. It's like, yeah, that part of the body that, I don't quite like. I'm open to loving it a little bit more, whenever that will be. And just by having a phrase like that, we start to rewrite the story. We start to like interrupt that pattern of that repeated loop of negativity that perhaps in the past we would have done before. So it's like, okay, I'm creating space. And the same goes with aspects of our personality or that bad habit. Okay, what's this teaching me? Like, what's the drive under that? Like, how can this bad habit teach me about myself and my needs? And how can I fulfill that in a constructive way? So I don't need to carry out that bad habit in order to feel that. I worked with many clients over the years, like some of them were smokers, and one of the things that they were looking for was a sense of relaxation and calm. So it's like, okay, how can I bring in more of that into my life? So then I have choices, I have options. Obviously, there's much more to the story in the picture, especially when there's an addiction to nicotine, though that's like a starting point where it can be like, okay, interesting. Perhaps there's some insight there. And when we gain the insight, then we don't need to shame and blame and judge ourselves for that bad habit in the first place. So these are just ideas. These are just like little insights of how we can start creating a little more self-acceptance, like with our physical body, with aspects of our character, our personality, behavior, habits, like all these different things. Perhaps we consider ourselves as too shy or too loud or too much or whatever it is. How can you see that in a different light? How can you find the gift in that as well? Like perhaps those who are very shy, perhaps there's a real gift there in being able to observe and listen as well. And it doesn't mean that we can't create more confidence and be able to be more like interactive in relationships and connections, though it's releasing the judgment, releasing the shame, releasing the blame, releasing anything about that label and that behavior. Just letting go of that, creating a little bit more self-acceptance. And again, it's not about perfection. I use this metaphor all the time, the Sagrada Familia, the famous building in Barcelona. When will it be finished? Who knows? It's an ongoing building construction that's been going on for years. And yet, even though it's still a work in progress, and even though there's scaffolding all around it, it brings in so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people as visitors that appreciate its beauty, that appreciate all of the gifts that it has to offer in spite of the building work, in spite of all the blocks and the piles of concrete and and the machines and the scaffolding and all of that. People go there and they choose to see the beauty, and then they choose to see it in its entirety. It's this ongoing project, and in some way that's exciting. That's exciting, and that's something that makes people want to keep going back and seeing more. So each human being, like, we are these masterpieces, but we're also a masterpiece in its unfolding, in its creation. It's constantly changing. There are all these different parts and aspects that transform as we go through life, as we grow through life. And witnessing all of that and just being okay with the present moment, being okay with like accepting what is right now in ourselves or in a situation. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what it is. How can I make the most of this? Like, how can I witness the beauty of all of it? Doesn't mean we can't create changes. Of course we can, and make improvements. That's important. If something's not working or something's not constructive or healing, then it's important to create changes. But it's how can I witness the beauty in the whole full experience? Like going back to that message, the rose. I'll read out the beginning of the message again. Look to the rose. Every petal makes up its form. Every thorn is part of its growth. See the bigger picture, and things fall into place. Focus on one part only, and you open up to misinterpretation and only half of the experience. This human experience is vast, expansive, with every possible manifestation. You are already in the multisensory surround sound experience. It's called life. And you are a beautiful expression of that life. So that's today's expansions message. If you like more of these, then do sign up to the newsletter. Every month I share a new message. So those on the newsletter, they get the first insight and also hear about personal shares that I don't share anywhere else. And I really don't like spam, so it's literally just like 1 or 2 emails a month. That's it. None of that weekly or daily email list thing. Like, yeah, I can't stand those. So it's literally just 1 or 2 emails a month. And if you want to be the first to hear these messages, to get these direct into your inbox and to hear some personal shares, then the link is in the description of this video. If you are a mother, if you are in Barcelona or near Barcelona and you want to have a beautiful experience, like a retreat, a morning retreat for you to really work on body image and to love and accept your body even more, I have this wonderful creative workshop coming up on the 10th of June at Artemis. It's a women's health centre in Barcelona. It's a beautiful place, and this will be a wonderful creative workshop. So I'll be blending creative arts, embodiment practices, and NLP for this wonderful embodied experience where we really like step into celebrating our body and loving our body even more. And what better way to do that whilst in a group of mothers, to be in community and support each other and celebrate each other as the multi-dimensional women that we are. So that will be a wonderful experience. That's on the 10th of June. If you want to join us, then you can find out more information by sending me a WhatsApp. So that's +34, so that's the Spanish country code, and then 6226 98673. That's on the 10th of June. There is another workshop on the 1st of July as well that's part of that series. So if you message me, then I can give you information about both of those, because if you join both, you get a special price. If you just join one, that's okay too. You can just join one. The second one in July is all about self-confidence. So they're very closely linked to the topics. And yeah, so if you're a mother, I'd love to see you there. If you want to join us, if you know of a mother, then please do share the information. I put the link in the description of this video. It's such an important topic. And if you're not a mother and this is a topic that you also want to work on, like body image, like self-acceptance, feeling much better about yourself, I do one-on-one sessions worldwide online. So just get in contact. Again, the information is in the description of this video and you can find out more information there. And until then, I wish you a wonderful week. Keep connecting to that breath, to that heartbeat, and remember that all parts make up that beautiful puzzle that you are. And without all of those parts, it wouldn't be that unique image, that unique, beautiful creation. So just remember that. Sending much love.